Take my hand and we'll dive all night, as long as you want. I promise you your life will change, but promise me that you will be you. I understand it's a fight, but you'll shine so bright. Nothing could compare the way you move to the music.
I hope you all like what you heard. You don't want to see me. Get that camera out of the way. You want to see that thing. You want to see the Killer Dagger Impulse. Now this is the display model, or so I'm told. I am told by the dude who sold this to me. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to talk about why I bought this. I'm going to talk about how I bought this, and also the pros and cons of this bass guitar. So why did I buy this? Why did I buy this? Well, because X Japan uses this bass guitar, obviously. If you don't know what X Japan is or who that is, look that up. My idol uses this bass guitar. His name is Taiji Sawada. He unfortunately passed away back in 2011, but he used to use these quite a bit. And I understand why after using these bass guitars. I do understand why. So that's why I bought it. I've always wanted one as a kid when I was a teenager. I was always in awe whenever I would see this bass guitar. Whenever I see Taiji Sawada use this in X Japan and him tapping on this, and I'm like, dude, how was he doing that? And then I go and try it on my bass guitar and I just can't do it. I understand how he does it all now after buying this thing. But yeah, now I have one. That's why I wanted it. I've always wanted one. Ever since I started playing bass guitar. This is the thing, this is the instrument that made me want to pick up a bass guitar. This is it right here. Now, how did I buy this? How did I obtain such instrument? Now, these things are expensive, man. Like freaking hundreds of dollars. So, back then, when I was in high school, even back then, they were hundreds of dollars. I could not afford them. Even in the present day, I can't afford these now. These are expensive. I went to a garage sale and I bought this off somebody. And I never go to garage sales. I never do. The one time I did, this guy was selling all of his guitars except like one of them. He was selling his bass guitars too, which he had like a few of them. He didn't have a lot, but this was one of them. And I just flipped out and I said, how much do you want for this? And he said $190. $190. And then I said, yeah, sold, but what's wrong with it? He said, yeah, I'll tell you, the jack won't connect. You just can't connect the jack in it. And I was like, what do you mean? Then he just showed me. He said it keeps falling out. And I told him, well, I know how to fix that problem. It's an easy fix. He said, oh, is it? And I told him how to fix it, and he said, it's still $190. I don't want it. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm just letting you know before I buy it off of you. Me being the good person I am. So, he said also it's been beat up. It has dents on it, cracks, and all this crazy stuff. And I looked, and it wasn't as bad as he was saying. I mean, there's a dent over here, if you see my finger pointing to that. I guess I could just show you. Look at this thing. It's pretty dented. You see that? Look at that. It's been through something. Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. I hit this a few times while playing it. It's very easy to hit. It's very pointy. So, yeah, he said it's beat up pretty bad, which is why it's so cheap. Now, if it was in mint condition, he would raise the price to like $300. Even that itself is a steal because these things go for hundreds. I mean, when I'm talking hundreds, I mean like 500. 800, sometimes thousands, man. I'm not joking. I looked on eBay the other day. And this thing went for 1,300. The same one. The only thing it had going for it was mint, basically. But yeah, I asked this guy, how did you buy it? And he said, I was living in Japan and I bought it off some rocker dudes and it was already beat up when he bought it. It was like beer. It had the smell of beer and all that on it, and he tried to clean it up, and which he did. And he said, yeah, I mean, it played well, but then the jack started not connecting. But I fixed that, obviously, as you saw in the video or videos. It delivers a pretty good sound. Not only did I fix that jack issue, I also fixed, like, I cleaned up the pickups, got rid of the rust, so I could get a better connection or a better sound. Because if there's like rust building up in the pickups, it kind of makes it darker. I mean, that's just from what I can tell. I made it a lot brighter when I cleaned up the rust. So that's a story about how or why I wanted one and how I got it. You never know. He could have bought it off Taiji himself. You never know. You never know. I'm just being like hopeful. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of this bass guitar. The pros are this. It looks badass. The EQ options on this thing are typical of any passive bass guitar. Also, it's very lightweight. It's so light. I could play this thing for hours standing up. Anytime I want to play bass or practice, I use this thing. I really don't pick up my other bass guitars unless I want to play like heavy metal, because my other bass guitars are 5-string bass guitars. This one's only 4. Yeah, I could tap very easily on here. When I first got this thing, the bridge was raised super high. I'm guessing the guy who had it last, he tuned it a low tuning in which he can play like heavy metal on this thing, like drop like maybe 1-step tuning and then you drop the lowest note. That's what some people do to play metal songs on 4-string bass guitars. I used to do that when back in the day. I just dropped it to 1 step and then drop the string right here even further, and it sounded really cool. I didn't want to do that because I want to play extra pen songs, and extra pen songs they're in half step, so I adjusted this thing to fit half step, and it plays very well. All of the frets, like it stays in tune. I don't have any tuning issues. Whenever I buy a used instrument, like I always make sure like it could stay in tune. And when I play this thing, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty solid. The knobs are great. They're still good. I mean, I was a little concerned about the rust on one of the knobs, but it's fine. It does the trick. But yeah, another pro is that it sounds good when you put it direct. And even if you mic up like a cabinet or something, it sounds great. As y'all heard, it sounds amazing. It cuts through the mix. I don't have to like necessarily try anything with EQs. Sometimes I like fiddle around if I want more low end on the program. I put more lows, but like honestly, I just plug and play, and I just keep whatever my bass guitar, my head, my cabinet, and my setup. I just keep all of that, really. I don't really EQ in the program anymore. Unless I send it to Josh and he EQs it himself. So, yeah, I don't EQ through the program. Unless I do direct interface. I do EQ a lot. I EQ anytime I go direct interface. Just letting y'all know that before you go and analyze my music stuff. The only time I did not EQ a sound was with the Kurune bass cover you all heard. There was one that had no EQ at all, which is just this thing through the head, through my interface, and no pedals. I didn't have these things going on. But there was a second take I did. I mean, it looks pretty much the same. I use this, my head, I use those two, and that. So I had another recording where I did use all the pedals, but there was one where I didn't. I know it's kind of confusing, but it is what it is. So those are all the pros. It has a lot of pros, man. It's fun to play, fun to jam with people. The cons. Let's talk about the cons of this thing. Oh, the cons. Man, you know what? Thinking about the cons, I'm sorry. It's just so funny. I know I said I wanted this thing in high school. This was like the bass guitar I really wanted, I dreamed about. If I had this thing in high school, I would have not liked this. I would have hated this bass guitar, and I would have like thought very lowly of extra pen. And I bet some of y'all are wondering why. You're an idiot. It's because this thing doesn't have, and a lot of bass players explain it like this, it doesn't have oomph. What do I mean by oomph? How do I explain this? It doesn't go, it's not loud. It's not loud. So if you plug this thing directly into a head, it's not loud. It's very quiet. It is the quietest bass guitar I own. This thing right here, the TRB5, this thing is the loudest one ever. And I'll probably do another video on this one. But this thing is the loudest one. These two are they're the same volume. The Fender I have right here and this one, I forgot what this is called. But yeah, these are the same volume. And the 4-string I have right here, that's really fucked up, is a little louder than these two, but not by much. And they're both active, I mean not active, they're both passive bass guitars. They have passive pickups, as you can see here. This one that I have right here, the TRB5, has active pickups, and it has a preamp in it, or I don't know what it has. Has something in it that requires 2 9-volt batteries. But yeah, that's another story in itself. I'm not gonna go into that. That thing is, that thing's something else, man. It has pros and cons too. But yeah, the main con of this bass guitar is that it doesn't go loud. It's not loud at all. And a lot of people that own this bass guitar that I talk online with, they're like, it has no oomph. Does anyone have any advice on how to make it have oomph? And my advice to you is this. Get some pedals, man. These pedals right here, they give it oomph. So the bass EQ pedal I have definitely does the job. So as you can see right here, I turn the master volume all the way up. I EQ it how I want to, and it does give it a lot of oomph. And also I have this envelope pedal, and I do adjust this if I want to make some funky sounds. But if I just have it without the effects, it does deliver a little boost to it too. And it just makes it sound a little darker. And sometimes I do want darkness, sometimes I don't. So I turn it on or off whenever I want to adjust that. Because this thing, it has a lot of brightness. And these pedals, they do the job. Sometimes I do want brightness, sometimes I don't. When I do, I turn this thing off. What am I saying? When I want brightness, I turn it off. When I want darkness, I turn it on. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's like the only con. Oh, what am I saying? There are more cons. So another con is that this thing's pointy. I know I said it was a pro at first, but like, yeah, it looks cool and all, but trying to put it in a case is a bitch to do. None of my bass guitar cases can take this thing. I have to get like a coffin case or the actual Killer branded case for this thing. And I have to get a very specific type of Killer case for this. I don't know if I could get the guitar Killer case. I have to get a Killer bass guitar case. I don't know. Y'all tell me in the comments below if you know that, because I'm debating on buying just the case itself. The case itself costs $100. If I buy a Killer case and it doesn't fit in it, I'm out $100, or I have to return it, which is a lot of work. I don't want to do that. But yeah, those are the only cons. And the pros really outweigh the cons on this bass guitar. It is my favorite bass guitar of all time. It's so fun to play. I play a lot of extra pan songs on it. I record a lot with it. Whenever there's a song for Phoenix Splash, I see if I can play it on here. If I can't, if the songs are too low to play, I usually go over here and get one of these guys to play the low sounding songs. I guess that's another drawback of this. It's not 5-string. But honestly, it's just how you play and how you tune it. You could tune it to make it sound like a 5-string bass guitar. And there are 5-string models out there, but man, they're expensive. They're like $5,000. They're like fucking, gosh, they're out of my reach, like completely. In my lifetime, I don't think I will ever own one of those 5-string killer guitars. If I do, then I hit the lottery or something. I don't know, man. Or someone bought it for me, or it ended up being a deal like this where I bought this at a garage sale for $190. Like, wow, how would that happen? I'm just thinking about the cons right now, the loudness of this thing. It's ironic because the guy from Loudness, Akira, what is his name? Let me type it real quick. Akira, yeah, Takasaki, that's his name. he made this bass guitar. He designed it. It's not loud, and his band is called Loudness. Like freaking Loudness, says it in his description. Yeah, Loudness. Look at that. Oh my God, you made this thing, and it's not loud. You like as a teenager, I'm like, oh, Loudness. Taiji Sawada went to Loudness. Oh, Akira Takasaki, he designed this guitar. It has to be loud, right? I always thought as a teenager that if I just plug this into my bass guitar amp, it will just like blow me away. But when I first plugged it in, I mean, I was still blown away because my bass amp was quiet. When I heard the tone, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the X Japan tone. But I wasn't paying attention to the loudness. As a teenager, though, I would pay attention to that oomph, to that loudness, and it would have disappointed me back then. But it doesn't disappoint me now. I love this thing to death. It's so fun. If y'all are thinking about getting one for like $400, $500, man, honestly, it's worth it. It is worth it. It is the best bass guitar I've ever played on. And I hope this thing keeps working. I got lucky with it. I do have to, maybe in the future I might replace, I don't want to replace anything, man. It's very cool, very vintage looking, and I just love it, man. But yeah, that's my video. I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm sorry. This video went on longer than I have planned. I know it was kind of like half-assed. I'm like just talking out of my ass. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm rambling on, which I am, but yeah, that was my video on the Killer Impulse. A few of y'all wanted to know about it. A few of y'all messaged me through various platforms like Instagram, like my other YouTube account, Chris the Pocket Master. I just wanted to put it on here on Phoenix Splash TV, just so, because we're music and we talk music, we play music. I wanted it to be on here. And the Killer brand, the Killer bass guitar, it's part of me now. It's my main instrument, really. I play pretty much all our songs on this. I can play all our songs. I have been playing a lot of the Mayday album. If y'all haven't checked that album out, I highly recommend you do that. If you want to hear more of the Killer Impulse and my recordings, check out Trance of Insanity. That whole 50-minute video has this thing in a lot of the songs. But yeah, if y'all want to hear more of that, just go there. If you want to hear it more up to date, go listen to Doppelganger. I play it on that song as well. And what other song do I play it on? Oh, they're not out yet. I can't tell you. Anyways, this is Chris Pocket Master. I'm signing off, guys.